All right. So this video is an overview of the syllabus for LALS 166, Shamanism and Healing, taught in the winter 2025 quarter. Many students, for example, enroll in the course after the beginning of the quarter or the first day of the quarter, or sometimes we might need a refresher about course expectations, policy, assignments. So use this video as both an overview to get the quarter started, as well as a refresher that you might need as we proceed over the next 10 weeks together in shamanism and healing. We'll be meeting Mondays and Wednesdays from 5:20 to 6:55 p.m. in Social Sciences 2, room 179. I'm Professor Justin Perez. I'm an assistant professor in Latin American and Latino Studies here at UC Santa Cruz. My research has been primarily in the Amazonian region of Peru. This is an area that is quite pertinent to the region of the world that I study, and I'm excited about exploring more about shamanism with you all. The best way to get in contact with me is through Canvas Messenger. I will be able to reply within 24 hours if you send me a message on Canvas Messenger during the week. Expect a bit of a longer response time over the weekends. My office hours will be on Mondays from 3 to 5 p.m. in my office in person, and that is the Merrill Academic Building, room 36. So, what are we doing generally in this quarter? Shamanism is a dynamic cultural institution that approaches non-ordinary or alternate states of consciousness as meaningful sites of knowledge. People around the world who call themselves shamans have the capacity to traverse and mediate human and non-human worlds. This course focuses on shamanism as practiced in indigenous and mestizo cultures across Western Amazonia, specifically or principally in Peru, where shamanic healing is most frequently accompanied with the ritual use of hallucinogenic brews, like ayahuasca. Topics covered include the diagnostic, curative, trance, and medical aspects of shamanism, shamanism as an anti-colonial expression of political power and agency, and shamanism in Latin American expressive and visual cultures. We're going to have two required texts, and we're going to spend a lot of time with these books over the quarter. So my strong recommendation is for you to acquire a copy of both texts. Specifically, the first one, Stephen Bayer's Singing to the Plants, A Guide to Mestizo Shamanism in the Upper Amazon. This is going to be our primary book for the first half of the quarter. We're going to be reading all of it essentially over the quarter. It's comprehensive, it's in depth, it's very fascinating, and I want you all to have a copy of it. The second book that we're going to be reading is very new. It was published in 2024, Alex Guerin's Global Ayahuasca, Wondrous Visions and Modern Worlds. I'm very excited to jump into this book with all of you. It looks both at the practice of ayahuasca in Peru, just like the Bayer reading. However, it also looks at the global circulation of ayahuasca, most notably, or at least in the case of this book, in Australia and China. It's very fascinating, very interesting, and they're going to be two great books that we'll have in conversation with each other over the course of the quarter. So they're both available to purchase in either the paper or electronic versions through the Bay Tree campus store. I strongly, strongly recommend the paper versions. However, if you prefer reading on a tablet, on your laptop in PDFs, that's fine too, but do acquire a copy. The Bayer text is available through hourly course reserve at the library. That means that the library wasn't able to get an electronic license of the book. However, they have a copy in the library, and you can go and rent, basically check the book out for short periods of time, for 2 hours at a time to read the assigned reading. With the gear and text, we were able to acquire an electronic license, so you would also be able to access this text through electronic reserve. Again, my strongest recommendation is to acquire a copy of both texts. Definitely acquire a copy of Bayer as soon as possible because we'll be starting to read it in week 2. Student hours for the class, in other words, what can you expect over the quarter in terms of how much time is required to be successful in the class and meet the learning outcomes? Well, this is a 5-unit course, so that corresponds to approximately 150 hours of work over the quarter, approximately 15 per week. The expected breakdown of those 15 weekly hours, well, you have about 3 1/4 of that time is just coming to lecture, class itself. I would anticipate about 7 hours of reading a week. Again, we're going to be going through this entire text. I think it's a really important text. We need it to really understand what's happening in this complex phenomena of shamanism, and it's going to take some time. So expect to be dedicating a good deal of time outside of class to reading and a smaller amount of time, about 4.75 weekly hours, to various assignments and homework. But this is really a reading focused course. There's going to be less assignments because I want you to focus on the reading and reading effectively. Okay, our learning outcomes. In other words, what do we expect to have acquired by the end of the quarter? I hope that if you put in the time doing the assignments, doing the readings, coming to class, that by the end of these 10 weeks, you'll be able to recognize and explain some shared features of shamanic practice across indigenous and mestizo Amazonian cultures. I hope that you'll be able to describe some of the historical factors and contemporary sociopolitical issues facing the region and its peoples, and explain how shamanism has developed as a response to these historic and contemporary pressures. I hope that you'll be able to synthesize and interpret verbally and through writing a diverse range of visual and expressive representations of shamanism. This might range from in popular and online media, in documentary film, journalistic accounts, of course, in scholarly articles and writing, and identify some of the common tropes that are threaded throughout these representations. And finally, I want students to be able to develop critical thinking analysis around the tensions between Western biomedicine, or some of the expectations that we have about what healing is and what it looks like, and then these non-Western practice of diagnosis, health, and healing, what that looks like. For students who are Latin American and Latino studies majors and minors, this course contributes to the program learning objectives, that is, the program of being a major or a minor in Latin American and Latino studies, of developing critical thinking skills, and about communication. The final one of the accumulations of our course is that you'll be doing a group research symposium during week 10. And that's going to be an opportunity, of course, to work, collaborate, and present, communicate what you have been researching. Okay, now I'm going to go through the nuts and bolts of the assignments and how your grade will be calculated in this class. So we don't have an extensive amount of assignments. It's pretty straightforward. The first assignment is going to be a syllabus quiz. So it's a short quiz that you complete on Canvas. After maybe you watch this video or review the syllabus, you can complete You can consult the syllabus while you complete it. Just complete it on Canvas by Wednesday, January 15th. And that's 5 points. If you get something wrong, I think you can take it again. So those are 5 points that I want you to have at the beginning of the quarter to start things off with momentum. So if you miss one or click a wrong thing or something, I believe that you'll be able to take it again. So, kind of our weekly assignment, and it won't be every week, but the assignment that we have to make sure that to hold ourselves accountable to maintaining an effective habit of reading are reading responses. So, you'll have 6 reading responses over the course of the quarter. Each one should be about 1 page, though you may need more to make an effective response. And basically, it's just a 1 page reflection on the reading that was assigned for that particular day. Um, the goal of this assignment is for you to compose your own response through your own words and ideas about what you've been reading. It's to kind of reinforce a little bit more what you read, to hold yourself accountable to our reading schedule, just to make sure that we stay on schedule to finish reading the two texts that we have for the class. Um, there's 4 questions that I want you to respond to with each reading response. So imagine it's really just a paragraph or two for each of these questions, and that will be enough to fill the response. You'll respond to the question, what was something that you found interesting about what you read? Can be anything. Um, the second question is, what else did it make you think of? Maybe it made you think of something that we read about earlier, something that was discussed in lecture, or just something that you've encountered in your own life or your own experiences or another class, or that you saw on TV, or that you saw on the internet, that connects to what you found interesting. So maybe like that might be, why did you find this interesting? The third question is, how would you explain either what you read or the component of the reading that you found interesting to a friend or a family member who isn't in the class? And then finally, I want you to openly reflect on your reading habit over this week. So what did you do to be able to make sure that you did complete the reading effectively? This is really open. It's really for you. You can talk about maybe how you scheduled time in your weekly agenda to complete the reading, what it actually looked like. Were you at a cafe? Were you at home in your room? Did you go to the library? Like, just explicitly describe what it was like to do the practice of reading. Um, so those 4 questions, I want to see each of them responded to in the response. Obviously, some might be a little bit longer than others, but you'll do that 6 times over the quarter, and that's going to be the largest chunk of your grade. That's 30 points. The class is out of 100, so making sure that you're consistent with your responses is going to be key to being effective and successful in the class. They'll be graded on a rubric, so you'll see the rubric on Canvas, and my responses primarily will be vis-a-vis the rubric. So you'll see what score the response earned on the rubric. And then if you have any questions about how to access the rubric or how to interpret the rubric in order to improve, if you need to, then there's some links in the syllabus to do that. Or, of course, that would be a good reason to come visit me in office hours. We will have a midterm in class midterm. The date is later in the syllabus, but it's going to be covering the course readings, lectures, and any in-class activities, discussions, worksheets that we might do from the first half of class. So obviously, the Bayer text, Singing to the Plants, is going to be the most significant thing that's going to be covered on the midterm. The midterm is open book and open note. So you'll be able to bring your copy of the book. You'll be able to bring your notes. You'll be able to bring your notes from our in-class activities. And that will be the material that will be covered in the midterm. We'll be doing a lot of in-class activities, worksheets, question group breakouts. It's important that you come to class to participate in those because that's going to be where a lot of the questions and the material will come from that will be covered in the midterm. If you miss class, do make sure that you have a contact in class and you're able to get notes. Both from lecture and from those in-class activities. You'll want those again for your preparation for the midterm and the final. So that will bring us up to the midterm and then the final, that the first half of class. The second half of class will be complete. We'll have finished Bayer and we'll primarily be moving into the Gieran text. But we'll also be doing a group collaboration. So you'll receive a list of some themes and topics that are important to our understanding and learning of shamanism and healing, but we're just not able to get to in the short 10 weeks of the quarter. So you'll get a list of topics, some interesting readings and starting points, and you'll kind of decide what topic you want to learn and research more about. And basically get into groups and prepare a 20-minute presentation for the rest of the class to be done in week 10. So that's going to be our primary orientation in the second half of the quarter, getting through and reading and learning from the Alex Gieran text and doing this kind of research collaboration. So you'll start by just kind of making a slide to identify, and every student will put a slide up, say what text they're interested or topic that they're most interested in from that list, and we'll form groups through that slide. That slide is really important to do. It's not a lot of work, but that's going to be 5 points. So again, it'll be a good way to get some momentum going to your grade after the midterm. We'll use that to identify and create groups. My intention is that you will be able to prepare and effectively execute this presentation without having to meet outside of class. We will have dedicated time during class to meet with your group, to check in on progress, to create a plan, and hold each other accountable to getting the work done in class. So it won't be something that you'll necessarily have to manage too much outside of class. Now, you may have to assign within your group some tasks that you'll complete on your own, but you'll always have time in class over the second course of the quarter to touch base, discuss with your group, and make sure that you're progressing. Another small 5-point assignment that you'll do after the midterm is really just watch a learning module about effective teamwork. It's called Communication Within Teams. It's short, and you'll just have a short Canvas. You'll have a written response to write about that module in sort of just discussing what strategies you might implement from that learning module to your group collaboration. Those are 10 points right there. Those two things in preparation for the symposium. Your symposium will be during week 10. It's 10 points. And in that week, the different groups of the class will give 20-minute presentations. The presentations will be evaluated by me. However, also it is imperative to come and pay attention and take notes from these presentations because the material that's covered, that's presented by all your classmates will be part of the final exam. So we'll conclude the course with an in-person final exam. Like the midterm, it's open book, it's open note, so you'll be able to bring your notes, you'll bring your worksheets or any in-class notes that you might have. You'll bring your copy of the Alex Guerin text. It's during the registrar's designated time slot for our course during finals weeks, which is Monday, March 17th from 4 to 7 p.m. And it will be held in the our normal classroom space, which is Social Sciences 2, room 179. So a breakdown, again, the course is out of 100 points. You'll have a 5-point syllabus quiz, the 5-point reading responses, and there's 6 of them, so that's 30 points in total. The midterm exam is 20 points. Uh, the research into slide and team communication reflection, those are those two smaller activities related to preparation for your collaboration and presentations. You have your week 10 presentations, 10 points, and the final exam is 25 points. Comes to 100. If you're taking the course for a letter grade, here's the letter grading scale. If you're taking the course Pass No Pass, here's the Pass No Pass scale. All right, so a bit of the communication policies, best way to get in contact with me, what my expectations are around student-instructor communication. I'm having in-person office hours on Mondays from 3 to 5 p.m. here in my office in Merrill 36. They're drop-in, so you don't need to make an appointment. I'll be here. Again, the most efficient way to get in contact with me is by Canvas Messenger. Again, if you send a message over Canvas Messenger, then you can expect a response within 24 hours. If you send me an email or if you send it over the weekend, expect it to be a little bit longer, just because I have a different process for responding to and triaging the many emails that I get over the quarter. So again, the best route, and I know exactly who you are, what class you're referring to if you send the message over Canvas, and that's the quickest response. Even though it's over Canvas and not in an email, I do expect professional communication. So, begin your message, dear Professor Perez, or hello, Professor Perez. And then also, conclude your message with a valediction like thank you or sincerely or respectfully, comma, your name. I'll most you'll receive feedback on your assignments or through SpeedGrader in Canvas. Your most everything will be graded through a rubric. So uh you will be able to see your scores on the rubric and the breakdown of your grade, particularly for your reading responses. The midterm and the final will be on paper. So you'll get paper feedback on those two components, but everything else is on Canvas. I take sets seriously. I read them. I use your feedback to develop the course. This course, in fact, developed as a result of the sets from another course that I teach on the Amazon. So students were very interested in the shorter section on shamanism of that class. And as a result of feedback that I got in sets, I decided to develop this class as a distinct course. So again, sets are helpful. I like to hear which readings you liked, which readings you found interesting, which readings you didn't find interesting. Mostly what you did find interesting, though, is the most helpful feedback. So the students that are affiliated with the DRC, the university is transitioning into a new system for testing accommodations. The only timed assignments that we have in the course are the midterm and the final. So as of now, through the DRC AIM system, The midterm and the final are designated in the AIM system. So now it is up for DRC affiliated students with testing accommodations to go ahead and make their appointment times to take these exams at the DRC center, both the midterm and the final. The timing is open, but it must be taken on the designated day. So you'll have to make your appointment on the day of the midterm and on the day of the final, of course, depending on the timing that it will be done through their testing appointment system. Again, remember to bring a blue book, and you're welcome to bring your notes, the book, your laptop, whatever it is, wherever you keep your notes. Those are all part of what you can access during the exam. Uh, Lecture notes are when I do lecture, I'll lecture on my iPad and take notes there. And those notes are uploaded to Canvas as a PDF. If you miss class, you are welcome to just, consult the notes on Canvas. Maybe some things are explained or some things might be harder to read because I'm using the iPad. So I also recommend that you get in contact with another student who was in class and consult notes and get notes from them. So I want to go over a few of the course policies. I won't go into them in depth, but I do welcome or encourage you to review these policies. The first one is really just a content advisory. We'll be reading depictions and scenes of illness, of suffering, what might be traumatic experiences. We'll be reading descriptions of human anatomy, bodily functions, sexuality, sometimes even violence. So I'll do my best to provide some individual warnings for course material and in lecture when something might be particularly sensitive, but I also might, but in general, expect and know that that is going to be the range of content that we'll be covering. And you might encounter explicit descriptions of these themes in the readings. If during lecture, for example, you need to take a break for a short period or for the rest of the class, you're welcome to just quietly leave. If you do leave for a significant amount of time, do make arrangements to get notes from another student or simply wait for me to upload lecture notes onto Canvas. Of course, I expect we all abide by the UCSC principles of community. Do consult what academic integrity constitutes and academic misconduct procedures. I am prohibiting the use of generative AI like ChatGPT for course assignments. I really want you, at least for the purposes of these 10 weeks together, to be thinking, writing, and approaching your written assignments without the use of generative AI. If the class develops on its own a Slack or a Discord or some type of discussion channel, I just want you to remember that that's not an official course space. So you can't, I would encourage you to look at the syllabus for dates, deadlines, policies, etc. But I welcome, you all to create community in whatever way you find meaningful, but know that I won't be monitoring or participating in that kind of space if it's created. Deadlines are final. And then expect the unexpected here at UC Santa Cruz, given the fluidity of the quarter, changes to the syllabus might be made. We might have to go remote on certain days because of unexpected, unplanned events and disruptions. So all of my communications will be through Canvas announcement. So just be ready to be flexible should something come up through Canvas. And finally, the last section of the syllabus is just a breakdown of deadlines, assignments, readings over the quarter. It's done by day, although Canvas, when you go on the course Canvas, it will mostly be weekly. Our first week, we don't have any assigned readings, and we will be jumping into Bayer and our first reading response on Monday, January 13th. So I did break this down, so you won't be expecting to read a lot per class session, but I do want us to get through the book. So we will be reading it. Next Monday, we'll start 3 chapters of Bayer, about 40 pages. Next Wednesday, another 3 chapters, another 40 pages. Make sure you complete the syllabus quiz on Canvas by Wednesday, January 15th. January 20th, there's 2 Mondays where we won't have class, so no class January 20th. Just make progress on your reading. Wednesday, January 22, you'll submit your second reading response covering chapters 7 through 13. So again, even though we don't have class, the reading schedule is kind of continuing as normal. We'll just continue on through Bayer, making progress over January, and we'll finish it by Monday, February 10th. Wednesday, February 12th is our midterm exam. Again, it's going to be in class, open book, open note, and that will cover everything up to then. So primarily Bayer. After the midterm, you'll have a bit of a longish break, about a week, because we'll have the Monday holiday. So recharge, rest the batteries, get ready for the second half of the quarter. We'll have some readings and we'll begin to get into groups and identify shared research topics for our week 10 symposium. Again, in that second half, we'll still have a few reading reflections to do. We'll continue on, finish with gear in, and then week 10, we'll do our research symposiums and conclude with the final exam on Monday, March 17th. So again, I'm very excited to be teaching this class, to be going on this journey of learning with you all. And feel free to reach out if you have any questions or concerns in the meantime.